What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Memorex, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the KFC tapes of Ironpaw for Steel Jaw and Rhino Horn for Ramhorn that are, I think, Masterpiece S scale. We're gonna compare it with the fans' toys and see how it shapes up or ships out. This is on loan to me from Lance. He sent a number of things my way before, and I appreciate him. And I wasn't in on these, so I appreciate the opportunity also just to experience them for myself, let alone the content. With that being said, you're still gonna get the content, which will cover these guys, but it will also cover accessories, which is just one plastic case for each, basically, that can house the tapes. These are two separate purchases, to be clear. I guess I could have done the reviews separately, and then you'd sit through double the ads! But it seemed like overkill. It seemed like we could cover both in one video, so that's what we're gonna do. But just to prove a point, what else we will do is put him in there and show you that they can indeed fit inside, as if there was ever a concern, and now you have them stored. In tape mode, honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about. They completely ignore any sort of tape deco whatsoever. Some of the paint does come through nicely, to be fair. I'm not sure why they're doing the QC pass thing, but you know, other than that, it's just like this and this both completely throw away the idea that they're actually a tape. And then on this side, there's no deco. So I kind of feel like they miss the mark with these a bit, you know, which is a bit of a bummer, honestly. But that doesn't mean that we'll stop there. No. There they are next to Tiger Tracks. They'll also fit in KFC Blaster's chest. And this chest is just like the Soundwave one from Takara, so you could load both in. So let's go ahead and get him transformed. Bring down the legs and then flip this panel over. Then you can take the head and flip that up. You can take these gold pieces. You want to flip them down to the outside, but you got to spin this around 180 and then sit that down. So same for this side, bring this down, spin the cannon pieces around 180, lock that in. All right, bring the front paws, doll paws, down. Bring this middle section up here. And then fold these pieces together. Tolerances are a little funny, but they'll go. And then you need to spin the front so that they face the proper direction. You can connect the rhino head, and then these holes here receive those pegs on both sides. You can bring the head down, take these side pieces here, flip them down, flip the tail out. Same for the other side. Down, tail out. Collapse them in. And then you have two females here for two males there. Bring them down. And plug them in. And that's this guy. Whoa. Well, I'll get him cleaned up a bit, and then we'll take a look at him. So let's take a look at one. So the head is lost and it went for like a more realistic rhinoceros look, I feel like, than the cartoon model or the character model, to be fair. You do get a neck tilt up and down. That's it there. This joint on one side is tighter than the other, and because these two pieces don't peg together, It looks like there is a magnet, but it's a weaker magnet if that is what it is, which I'm not sure that that's the case actually at all. But even if it is, it's a weaker magnet, so it doesn't do the best. The ears do articulate, and that's about all you got. The borde, we have the shoulders, which are hinge, knee hinge, ankle hinge, and then the toes are painted. This is based also. And then the same for the rear legs. You get a hip, a knee, and an ankle. The black parts, I believe, are die cast. The kind of hooves, look at my hooves. They're painted with like a peach. And then the tail, you get a wiggle, no waggle. And the eyes are painted white. And I mean, that's about it. It's hollow underneath, but I think this actually does an okay job. You know, more so than Steeljaw, which we're getting ready to get into. Now, I personally think that this one is a bit more complicated, but we're going to flip out the paws, dog paws. And then we're going to kind of rotate them up at the angle. We're trying to make an X, kind of. We're going to flip out these here, and we're going to bring these pieces down, the gold pieces that are on the side. All right. Then we're going to flip out this piece, bring this piece down. The lion head pieces, you can get to rotate up a bit, spin the whole waist section 180. And that will allow the same piece that we lifted up to come back down and peg in underneath. The dog paws you can bring down. And we're going to just get these out of the way in order to make some room here. And then we got to bring, you can flip the head up. You got to bring these pieces down. They clip on to the top here on those pegs, and then you line the face up. And in a perfect world, we peg that together. But we don't live in a perfect world, do we? We live in a flawed world. So I might have to get that afterwards. All right, that came loose, so we'll come back and tie that back in. The hips, if you move the legs out of the way, they'll flip down. This isn't a completely symmetrical transformation. So on this side, as you flip the leg down, you got to free up the tail. Rotate that around to the bottom, and then those pieces will come together. Bring down the rear legs. And then these pieces, you take this, flip that down to the back side, flip the wing up, and that just comes down like sitting alongside them, kind of free balling, if you will. And then the same on this side. I'm trying not to break this thing. Oh, I was aiming it the wrong way, so to speak. That's why. All right, and yeah, I mean, that's him. I'll clean him up. We'll take a look at him. So here he is, and you know, not the most elegant, to be honest, at all. But let's go through it nonetheless, shall we? So the head, the neck hinges up and down. The body comes unpegged relatively easy, and then you can kind of get a rotation as well. The inner head from the neck also has a hinge independent of the neck hinge, and then the mouth also opens, I believe, but it's tight, and I'm not going to push it. The teeth are painted white, the eyes are painted white, and this whole thing is based with a yellow. The shoulders are on ball pegs. You get an outward movement and inner movement. and a little bit of a swivel. Then you have a knee that gets you forward and back. These are die cast pieces, I believe. And then you have an ankle tilt up and down with no rocker. So same for the other side. The sculpt is, I don't think it lands. Just to be honest. The guns can move about, and they are painted gold. And then the rear hips, you get forward and back at that joint, at the hip, and then you get a knee forward and back, and then you get the ankle tilt up and down, and then the tail, you get a little wiggle with no waggle. And, you know, that is this guy in a nutshell. Let's do some size comparisons. So I think that seeing them side by side does a better job of illustrating the size difference. I think that these are passable for Chug. I think that these are too, honestly. But I do think that these Fans Toys ones, even despite their flaws, they blow these other ones out of the water, in all honesty. But I know some people were very critical of these. I actually think that they're pretty well done for what they are. But yeah, there they are. You know, I could tell you I could do one better for you in regard to this, because I still happen to have this fella out and about. So, you know, if you remove these two, I mean, I think they look pretty good together. They look like a cohesive set. You know, despite their flaws, I think it works. And then there he is next to the MMC offering. So, you know, to be fair, I wish the MMC one was painted. But outside of that, I mean, that's what I'm looking for personally. And if you're going this size, I think the Fans Toys is the better option. So it is 2 separate releases. So I am going to give myself 2 sets of points. Final thoughts-wise, we'll start with the negatives. There are some joint tolerance issues here. Some joints are too tight. Every now and then you'll come across one that's too loose, but that's more rare. More often than not, they are too tight. And there's some sculpt issues. With Steeljaw, I feel like he's very, 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 very broken up and kind of incomplete and not fully realized. With Ramhorn, I feel like they went a little too realistic in terms of animal mode, and they kind of missed the character. Like, they missed the soul of the character, if that makes sense. The articulation is relatively limited, but they're also very small figures, and I think given the price point, it's kind of reasonable. There's this whole thing that's come up with the price point, right? So like a lot of people were critical of the Fans Toys tapes because they were like, look, we have Legends class figures that are this size that can do more. And that's true, but they're also more expensive. You know, Legends class figures usually go for like 80 to 100 bucks, I feel like sometimes. You know, these guys are not that much individually. And I do think that as a result, they make certain choices that affect the level of sophistication. Another, I mean, I know I kind of dressed on it, and I know I kind of touched on it, but real quick, like the hindquarters here don't feel fully realized to me, and a lot of this doesn't feel, I mean, specifically the hindquarters, but a lot of it doesn't feel fully realized to me either. And the positive, they're fully painted, which is always appreciated by a guy like me. The materials feel good, the plastics feel good, the die-cast integration feels good and doesn't take away from the structural integrity, which is nice, unlike the Fans Toys Rumble and Frenzy. And I enjoy the transformation. It's intricate, it's unique, and it's fun, and I always kind of find the way that they do tape transformations to be kind of fascinating. The one other negative I forgot to mention is I wish there was more tape details that came through in tape mode. So look, I think that they're decent. I think if you're getting them for a Chug collection, you're not going to find a better set. I think if you're getting them for an MP collection, you might always feel incomplete or unsatisfied when you check them out. And that's kind of how I feel. Thanks again to Lance, and thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.